Greenwood Common Council on Monday, March the 6th. And we're going to start our meeting just a little bit different this evening. As you can tell, we have a large group of Boy Scouts here, and I'm going to ask the Boy Scouts to come forward and give us their name, their troop number, and why they're here. We'll give them a pin, and then they're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Then after they're done, Monsignor Mark Schwarzkopf, the pastor of Our Lady of Greenwood Roman Catholic Church, will lead us in prayer. Gentlemen, whoever's first.
Hi, my name is Alexander Ridge, and I'm from Troop 264.
My name is Caleb Farmer, and I'm from Troop 264.
My name is William Block. I'm from Troop 264.
My name is Alex Gonzalez from Troop 264. I'm working on my citizenship and community merit badge.
My name is Ethan Winnett, and I'm from Troop 264.
My name is Connor Wren, and I'm from 264.
I'm Eric Blackwell, and I'm from Troop 264.
My name is Nat Ridge. I'm the Scoutmaster of Troop 264, and all of these young men are working on their citizenship and community merit badge.
Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you for the privilege of being able, through the democratic process, to share in the stewardship of this community. Not only are we residents, but we are stewards, whether we vote for those who take office or those who are actually in office. It is a privilege and an honor to watch over the affairs that benefit so many people. We ask for your wisdom upon all of us, that we may all work together for the good, the happiness, and the prosperity and the safety of the people of Greenwood. This is the last meeting of the winter season. We thank you for a relatively mild winter, and we observe that March has come in like a lion, a lot of wind, lightning, and rain on midnight of the 1st. But we ask that you preserve us from harsh weather during this stormy month of March. And as our families prepare and even travel on spring break, that they may travel in safety and return in safety. Thank you for your blessings. We pledge to be good stewards of all your people. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call.
Armstrong.
Here.
Bates.
Present.
Campbell.
Here.
Corey.
Here.
Gibson. Hill.
Here.
Hopper.
Here.
Landon.
Here.
And Lexi.
Here. We have a quorum. All should have received copies of the minutes from our last regular meeting on February 22nd. Do you have a motion? Motion by Mr. Bates, second. Second by Mr. Lexi. Any additions, corrections, or deletions? Seeing none, roll call in the minutes.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hopper. Landon.
Aye.
And Lexi.
Aye. Minutes are approved 9-0. At this time, on the agenda is a time for requests from the audience. If anyone from the audience wishes to address the council in regards to city business, please step to the microphone.
Good evening, Chairman Lawson, Deputy Mayor. I'd like to invite up Best Way, who provides our trash and recycle service. They want to give you an overview of where they're at for the first 2 months of this year, and I'll let them present their.
Good evening. My name is Corsi. I'm the administrator with Best Way Disposal. Wanted to come in tonight and give you guys an update. We changed the process a little bit with recycling in the city of Greenwood on January 1st. We collected all the 18-gallon bins that we had been using, replaced them with 96-gallon bins. We've been really encouraged by the progress we've made with this. The actual amount that we collected on a home basis is up 26% as far as participation, folks that are participating in the program. And the tonnages have went up 13% since we started. And that's a comparative January and February from 2017 to where we were at January and February 2016. So it's something that we're very encouraged with. You know, we talked with the Board of Public Works tonight. They approved us to also offer a 64-gallon bin. You know, there have been some issues. Some folks with the size of the 96-gallon bins. So we are going to offer a 64-gallon bin. The customer is going to have to pay for that bin, but they will own it. $65.32 per bin. But it's something we'll offer, we'll deliver it, we'll service it. But the customer will own that bin. You know, once it's done, it's not something that we're going to come collect. They actually buy the bin, but we will service it. So we've been really encouraged by what we've seen as far as participation. We picked up 5,800 bins, delivered 7,300, I believe. But the participation is growing, and that means that, you know, people aren't putting these in the trash cans; they're actually recycling. The tonnage is up 13% in 2 months. We think that's huge.
How does one go about getting those smaller bins if they want?
You can give us a call. Call City of Greenwood. Give us a call. We're glad to go ahead and get you guys
Sanitation.
It'd be the billing department. We'll virtually put something out on the website and stuff. So the billing department will take care of it.
We do have a 64-gallon bin that's out in the lobby now. If anybody would like to take a look at it, it's sitting next to a 96, so you kind of get a size comparison. They're virtually the same size, but they are 5 inches a little shallower. They're not quite as deep as the 96-gallon carts. So that is the trucks that we usually pick up the recyclable materials. You know, unfortunately, that's the only 2 sizes that we're able to service with the arms on the trucks. It is another option for folks that have some size requirements.
Any questions?
Terry, will that just be on their bill if they say they want one, or would they have to come in and pay for it?
I think they're going to work up a payment where they want to do it like credit card or debit card or however. I don't think it'll go on their bill necessarily, but they just approved it at the last meeting, so we'll have to work out the.
I don't know if we have logistics.
Call, or we're going to try to work out something for an online payment for folks. That way they can do it. That'll take a little bit of work, but it's something we'll
So it's most definitely prepaid before you get it.
Yeah, you have to pay.
Anything else? I want to say I appreciate the response, and even I'm sure it's not a perfect solution for everybody. At least there's an option. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience wish to address the council at this time? Seeing none, reports, Corporation Council.
And you all should have received a copy of my report. With respect to item compliance, we've had about 20 additional Find It, Fix It credits been applied since our last meeting. As a reminder, the Find It, Fix It program runs all of 2017, so we will be promoting it at various occasions throughout the year. Most notably upcoming as part of Earth Month in April, so we'll have another big public education outreach. The second item is all of you were sent a copy of a proposed settlement agreement. So the universal settlement agreement between citizens and the satellite customers with respect to sanitary sewer rates. I would ask for authority to enter into a settlement agreement substantially similar to the one under those terms presented to you.
Do you have a motion? So moved. Motion by Mr. Bates, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lexi. Any discussion?
In this agreement, if I'm reading it correctly, either party can sever this, there's no penalty tethering, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I just.
No, that's my fault.
Yes, you can leave at any time, there's no penalty for
Okay.
exiting the agreement.
All right, any other questions?
Well, yeah, I have another question. It talks about excessive strength surcharges, then it uses terms like BOD, SS, and H3-N. What are those and how do they measure this? Would we in jeopardy of being assessed for excessive strength?
Or can you tell me exactly the page and paragraph you're looking on? Are you talking about the surcharges with respect to flow?
It's original page 106 in the middle. Excessive strength surcharge. That confused me.
Okay, so if normally our sanitary, so we have requirements in our current contract with Citizens, previously the city of Indianapolis, that says for our industrial users, et cetera, our sanitary sewer effluent must meet certain environmental criteria with respect to nitrates and other environmental indicators. Keith and his sanitation crew have a they have an industrial user monitoring program. They go out and they test those sites. We haven't had any issues with respect to our industrial users and being in compliance with those measurements. The agreement also has potential surcharges involved in it if you go over flows.
I saw that.
And those are, the peak flows. That's an issue we are also trying to address through the Find It, Fix It program, through our other I&I, through the Western Regional Interceptor, et cetera. So, to date with our contract, there has been no discussion of us being out of compliance or any concern with respect to the levels of the certain elements within it, such as the nitrates, et cetera. That's never anything that's been brought to our attention by either item, et cetera. What we've been working on, what was cited in the agreed order, was inflow and infiltration leading to, peak flows being higher than they should be at some times, which results in the backups that we have from time to time.
As I recall the discussion we had at the meeting on this, we had a lot of safety on peak flow. We had never hit the peak flow that was in the contract. There was a wide safety margin.
My understanding is not that we have not hit the peak flow, it's that our capacity right now is currently 14.8 million gallons per day, and we're currently at about 7, so we're only at half of our capacity.
That's the number I remember. Okay.
Correct. That's not our peak capacity, that's our our capacity of our overall system. So what that says is we have a lot of capacity that, going forward, we could be able to have new development in Greenwood and would not have to pay SAF to Indianapolis. We have purchased up to capacity to about 15 million gallons a day, and we're currently only at half of that capacity.
So we have plenty of room to grow.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted. Okay.
Right, anything else?
Yeah, my question has to do with how are we getting this information, how are we going to get this information to our customers, because it's going to be a pretty big shock when they start seeing these rate increases. We know why we're having to do it, but how are we going to, what's the PR we're going to use to be able to?
So as we have been doing, we will do public outreach and education. As the agreement actually, what the council is doing by entering into the agreement is protecting the customers from a huge shock of a large rate increase all at once. The agreement has a very graduated rate increase. As we've discussed, there's no rate increase in 2017. There's no rate increase in 2018. The 2019 ones are very moderate and could potentially be borne by the rate structure that has already been passed by this council. And so there should be no immediate impact on residents from the settlement agreement. In contrast, as was discussed, if we don't enter into this, there is the potential for immediate impact that could be rather shocking to residents.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So for the benefit of the Boy Scouts in the ring, this is very important. We're trying, these are a lot of big words up here, but we're trying to make sure that when you flush the toilet, it actually goes away.
Because they happen. Yeah.
And it costs money, and we're trying to figure out how to make sure that that happens. So every time you flush the toilet, remember tonight, all right?
All right, anything else? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passes 9-0. Anything else from the Corporation Council?
I have nothing else at this time, thank you.
From the Controller?
Good evening.
Evening.
As per the email that I sent out to you earlier this morning, I am asking to ratify the payment that we made to NDOT for the traffic preemption project. The amount of that check was $74,888.03. It was dated February 9th and it came out of rainy day funds. As per past history and keeping the finance department moving in with transparency with you and allowing you the option to do your job, I'm asking for a motion to okay that past payment.
I'd make a motion as presented.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Corey, second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Committee and board reports. RDC has not met since we met last, so anybody?
The Plan Commission met last Monday. One topic was, you'll see it next, ordinance number 1716 with respect to Mrs. Curl. There were also two proposals regarding expansion of TIP districts. Those were postponed. The materials that were sent out to the Planning Commission were very late. In my case, I got them the day after the meeting. In a lot of people's cases, they came the day of the meeting, which was Monday, or at best on Saturday before the meeting. So we moved to postpone, and we'll revisit those at a future meeting.
All right, any other committee or board reports? Seeing that ordinances and resolutions, notice of intent to consider. Ordinance 1716.
An ordinance to amend the official zoning map adopted by reference in zoning ordinance number 82-1, proposed rezoning of approximately 1.19 acres located at 1 East Main Street, 21 East Main Street, and 259 South Meridian Street, sponsored by Councilor Hopper.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Hopper, a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibson. Yes, Mr. Peoples?
Yeah, this is a request to rezone about 1.19 acres from its current zoning classification, the R2 zoning district, to the C2 zoning classification to provide for redevelopment of 2 lots along Main Street for the new location for Mrs. Curl's, to the rehabilitation of the current Mrs. Curl's facility into a bicycle rental / public restroom facility. And then just to establish zoning for Archers that's consistent with the land use. Currently, all these properties are zoned R2, which is a single-family residential zoning classification. The redevelopment commission and the city have acquired 2 formerly residential lots along Main. The idea would be to construct about 4,600 square foot retail building on that location that would Archers or Mrs. Curl's would move into and operate as a year-round use rather than a seasonal use as it is right now. And then the city would enter into a long-term lease with the owner of Archers for the old Mrs. Curl's building. We do some stripping of some of the whiz-bangs and doodads that have been affixed to that building over time, and then use it for bicycle rental and install some restrooms in it. Plan Commission did forward this as a favorable recommendation. The vote on that recommendation was 8-0. One member of the Plan Commission did have to abstain because she did receive notice on this proposal. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Was there any commitments put on this rezoning?
No.
I didn't see. So theoretically, I could build anything I wanted to in C2.
Yes. So anything that's permitted in the C2 zoning district.
Any other questions?
You want to move to make it just an
Anything else?
What commitment are you?
There should be, I think, some break commitments, I think there should be some use commitments, I think this should have been done at the planning level, not here at the council meeting. Should have been either done at the planning level or at the planning commission. I mean, we can do it here, but
Well, this would be the last opportunity to do so unless you, so do you have a,
We already have to revisit most of the things from the last meeting, because not just that.
right. Well, have we done this in the past? It was, all is excluded except for, is that how we did it, Bill? On, help me think on the parcels I'm thinking of. Well, it was Bay Horse Inn, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We did all are excluded except for,
Well, there were some other, I believe there were some negotiations that went on back in the back, and there were some additional uses other than the event facility that were included. But yeah, there was
like
several.
4 or 5 categories?
I don't even think that was, no, I think it was restaurants, it was, yeah. I just think there should have been some kind of commitment put on it before you got to this point.
So do you wanna,
Would I want to go through those commitments now? No, not particularly.
All right.
If you want to postpone it, I'd be happy to look at it, but no, I don't think it's appropriate for us to go through this process now. This should have been done earlier.
All right, anything else from the council?
Is there any kind of time frame on this, like if we did postpone it?
I'm not familiar with the time frame. I know it's under, the building itself is an engineering and design, it's an architectural firm. The intent was to file a commercial site plan as quickly as possible after the approval rezoning request. There is, the Board of Zoning Appeals did approve a variance of front yard setbacks along both Main and Meridian for the eventual building on this property. They did that subject to one condition. That condition was that this position be approved by the common council.
Did we also, you said Archers is going to lease the municipal building to us?
potentially, this is all.
That's an option.
So theoretically, they could, if they decide not to, I'm just saying,
Tear that down.
they could tear down, build whatever they wanted to under the C2.
They could, I mean, yeah, it would be a permitted use, in the
It's
district.
in the floodplain though, like the
Yeah,
location of the municipal.
Okay, they can remodel it and make it whatever it's C2 now, granted. Some would probably argue that might be better than what's there now.
That is the most historical building in Greenwood.
It actually any sort of remodeling of it has to be very limited when it's in the flood zone. Any sort of substantial
I
remodeling
know what
would.
remodeling has to be done in the flood zone.
Yeah, it's actually in a floodway, so
I'm more
if they
concerned about the
demo the
use of
building,
it.
it's unlikely that they would be able to rebuild
Well,
it at all.
correct, but they could change the use of the building.
Yes.
Without even changing a hammer.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
If you're thinking about making a C2 and a restricted use, why don't we just leave it at R2 and give them a variance to operate a nice clean store? And then if somebody else came in, they would have to come back to the council and go through the entire process again.
Well, if they wanted to use those other than the ones that we put on it, they'd have to come back to us.
Come back to us anyway. Right, and that's, usually you don't, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't really like to use a variance process unless it's absolutely.
Not a use variance.
Especially
And
use
this is
variance.
I mean, this is a bugaboo of me as a planner, not necessarily all planners or anything. I'm not a big fan of use variances because my feeling is that the use variance is justified or rezoning is more appropriate, especially in Greenwood, because use variances expire with ownership change. Two, the council doesn't adopt or doesn't approve variances, so the Board of Zoning Appeals has to. So you would have no control over it.
Upsets us
You
very
would not have
much
no
at
control
times.
over it if you do it as a use variance. If you do it as a commitment on a rezoning that you put on, the council puts on, then you would have, because the way the law is written, a petitioner has to go to the body that imposed the commitment on it. And this would be a council-initiated commitment.
That's a good answer, I accept that, so thank you.
I make a motion to postpone to our next regularly scheduled meeting.
A motion to postpone by Mr. Corey, second by Mr. Lexi. Any discussion? The only discussion I have
Nobody's here from Mrs. Corolla.
is that every Wednesday, I'm at lunch with my grandson, and I take him for ice cream afterwards, and every Wednesday he tells me he wants to go to Mrs. Curl's. And half the year I have to tell him we can't go.
So the point of the story is every Wednesday I need to meet you at Mrs. Curl's so I can get an ice cream.
The point of the story is I want Mrs. Curl's to build a new building and have it open year round, so I take my grandson.
Have you had the donut with ice cream in it yet?
Yes, no, I haven't.
No, I haven't, but boy,
No.
am I. I'm really gonna be an at-large member.
Okay.
I gotta say this, I've heard it from more than one person, be careful what you wish for. Anything you can get all the time is not as good as something you can only get half the year.
That's true. Well, I'll leave it up to Mrs. Curl's.
When it comes to ice cream and donuts.
Okay, all right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to spearhead on what those commitments would be with?
Yes, that would be appropriate under the circumstances.
If we could probably get a copy of the Bay Horse Inn ones, we could.
That would be a good starting point.
All right, any further discussion?
Petitioners here the next time they come.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes to postpone. All right, thank you, Mr. Peoples. First reading, ordinance 1711.
An ordinance transferring funds from certain rarely used funds that are closely related to active funds sponsored by Mrs. Gibson.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second.
I'll second it, Mike.
Second by Mr. Landon. Any discussion, ordinance 1711? Seeing none, roll call on first reading.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Landon.
Aye.
And Lexi.
Aye.
Ordinance 1711 passes first reading 9-0. Ordinance 1712.
An ordinance to close certain rarely used funds, Fund 025, Fund 031, Fund 048, Fund 088, and Fund 071, and amending Fund 026, sponsored by Councilor Gibson.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion on ordinance 1712? Seeing none, roll call on first reading.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Landon.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
And Armstrong.
Aye.
Ordinance 1712 passes first reading 9-0. Ordinance 1714.
An ordinance to establish an airport restrictive donation fund, sponsored by Councilor Gibson.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second by Mr. Lexi.
Ladies first.
Any discussion, ordinance 1714? See none, then roll call, ordinance 1714, first reading.
Campbell.
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Landon.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
And Bates.
Aye.
Ordinance 1714 passes first reading 9-0. Ordinance 1715.
An ordinance transferring funds from restrictive donation fund 028 to newly created aviation restrictive donation fund, sponsored by Councilor Gibson.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second
Second.
by Mr. Lexi. Any discussion, ordinance 1715? Seeing none, roll call on first reading.
Corey.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Landon.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
And Campbell.
Aye. Ordinances, second reading, ordinance 1704.
An ordinance amending Greenland Municipal Code 1993 as amended, Chapter 4, Article 2, Division 8, regulating peddlers and solicitors, sponsored by Landon.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Landon, second? Second. Second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion, ordinance 1704?
Can the attorney please put in the record that all of those people who have
Yes, I sent a
solicitation
test at this
permits?
point. I had my office do it. The letters were posted to your SharePoint.
Yes, I got it, I just want to.
Yes, Ms. Myers, are all those letters, could they be entered into the record in the minutes? Do you have copies of those?
We should have been SharePoint.
Yes.
Okay, all right, just make sure those are entered into the record, we appreciate
Did
it.
we get a response back from any of them? I didn't.
I do not know whether, they have not contacted my office. I don't know if they reached do know a couple reached out to the chamber.
All right, any further discussion, ordinance 1704?
Couple of, Mr. Chair, a couple points to consider. I think that we amended this, at least in the past, as far as age. And I think we put an age at 17, knowing that possibly seniors also could be an 18-year range. We need to reconsider making that 18 instead of 17. Question for the council.
Any discussion or ideas on that?
Is that a motion?
Are you making a motion?
I'll make that for a motion to change that from 17 to 18, so that is inclusive of all seniors.
I'll second it for discussion.
All right, we have a motion to amend ordinance 1704 to change the permissible age from 17 to 18 and under. Any discussion on the amendment?
Theoretically, couldn't like let people hire 18-year-olds?
Yeah, it seems.
Yeah, but I understand that you have seniors in high school that maybe, I didn't turn 18 until after I graduated, but most people do, so.
I've never seen a senior in high school out knocking on doors asking for donations. So
I don't know, we have Boy Scouts here.
Actually, I had.
And they'll be 18?
So from the purposes of the legality of the ordinance, if you remember, we can't have content based, so it can't be based upon the fact that they are selling, something for school versus the fact that they would be selling magazines. You have to look purely at the age. And so before, I think the basis was that children are less likely to commit crimes or fraud than adults, and so that is why the basis upon which, the rational basis for which you're making a distinction there. So I guess once you move into 18, you need to be able to make that sort of same distinction between, say, an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old, et cetera. I mean, that's where we originally started, I think, with 12-year-olds, because obviously very little violent crime is committed by children under the age of 11 or 12, and then we've moved it to 17, and so you just, for the record, when you're talking about why you're doing it, you need to talk, I would suggest or advise talking about it within that framework in order to provide a basis to defend it if it's ever challenged.
What is the definition of a juvenile? Is it under 18 or under 17 or?
I think the word minor is used more often in Indiana law. It's anybody less than 18.
Correct.
So the risk of going to 18 years old is that businesses hire as full-time employees 18-year-olds, and they're not subject to this. But they're far less likely to hire a 17-year-old to engage in commerce. I like keeping it at 17 and under, and if there's an 18-year-old out there collecting for Goodwill or the Scouts or anything like that, then I would hope that people in the police use their powers of discretion, which are recognized under the law, and we don't haul them into the slammer.
That would make
Any further discussion on the amendment to ordinance 1704? All right, seeing none, roll call on the amendment.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Nay.
Landon.
Nay.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Nay.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Nay.
And Corey.
Nay.
The amendment to ordinance 1704 fails 4-5. Any further discussion on ordinance 1704?
I think there's one more, Mr. Chairman, that we should look at, and that was, I think, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, that we restricted this just to our own residents. Is that wise? Just restricted to the residents of Greenwood? Question I would put before legal counsel as well as the council members.
And that was with respect to the the children only, correct? So,
Yes.
yes. Again, any sort of distinction that you make, you need to be able to defend it upon a rational basis. If you have a reason why you're drawing that distinction with respect to the activity in question. So, if I was, you could say perhaps that residents of Greenwood are more likely to be known in their area. They're more likely to have, sort of established social connections that as opposed to people coming in from the outside, that therefore there would be less risk. I mean, there's a basis that can be drawn. That would be the type of argument.
And also we would think that people 17 years old or less are doing it for community purposes, and the people of Greenwood would be more welcome to a student at Greenwood or Center Grove who lives here, or Whiteland who lives here, and they're supporting their band or scouts or things like that. But we don't expect the Fort Wayne Band Club to be down here on our streets trying to raise money. So I think that was the idea behind the resident requirement.
All right, any further discussion? Ordinance 1704. All right, seeing none, roll call ordinance 1704, second reading.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Landon.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Corey.
Nay.
And Gibson. Aye.
Ordinance 1704 passes second reading 8-1. Ordinance 1706.
My office would request that you postpone this meeting postpone this until the next meeting due to a publication issue.
So, we have a motion to postpone 1706, ordinance 1706 until our next meeting by Mr. Bates. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Corey. Any discussion on postponement? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Ordinance 1706 is postponed until our next meeting, which I believe is March 3rd. Ordinance 1707.
An ordinance to establish a workers' compensation self-insurance fund to administer money for workers' compensation insurance expenses and claims payments, sponsored by Councilor Gibson.
There a motion? Motion by Ms. Gibson. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Landon. Any discussion? Ordinance 1707. Seeing none, roll call on second reading.
Hopper.
Aye.
Landon.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. And Hill.
Ordinance 1707 passes second reading 9-0. Ordinance 1708.
An ordinance amending the 2017 salary ordinance, common council ordinance number 1650 to change position of payroll clerk to office manager / payroll administrator and increase salary, sponsored by Councilors Campbell and Bates.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Landon. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lexi. Any discussion? Ordinance 1708. Seeing none, roll call. Ordinance 1708, second reading.
Landon.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill.
Aye.
And Hopper.
Aye.
Ordinance 1708 passes second reading 9-0. Ordinance 1709.
An ordinance transferring funds within the aviation department budget from classification 338 to 445 for machinery and equipment in the amount of $15,000, sponsored by Councilors Hill and Gibson.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lexi. Second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibson. Any discussion? Ordinance 1709. Seeing none, roll call, second reading.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
And Landon.
Aye.
Ordinance 1709 passes second reading 9-0. Ordinance 1710.
An ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 8, Section 2-69B, 1 and 2 of the Greenwood Municipal Code 1993 regarding the paid time off policy for full-time employees, sponsored by Councilor Hill.
Motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lexi. Second? Second. Second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion? Ordinance 1710. Seeing none, roll call, second reading.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Landon.
Aye.
And Lexi.
Aye.
Ordinance 1710 passes second reading 9-0. No new business, miscellaneous business from the council. I just want to say to the Boy Scouts who are here, appreciate you coming, glad you're here. In case you want to know about first readings, second readings, that kind of thing, there is no new business, but we have a 3-meeting process where if there's a new ordinance that's introduced at one meeting, there were no new ordinances tonight, so there were no introductions. At the second meeting, we have a first reading, and that we get a chance to vote on it at that time. And then at the third meeting, there is a second reading, and we get to vote a second time. So there's always the possibility that votes can change between readings, ordinances can change, but that's the process it basically goes through. So that's what we're doing with first readings and second readings. Any other miscellaneous business from the council?
I noticed recently that the first cabin of Greenwood historic sign has been knocked down. I was wondering if anybody knew anything about that. Yeah, right behind Papa John's at the entrance.
Bruce, that's been down for a while, and it was laying on the ground. Well, in fact, Kitty, you might be able to address that, because I called someone over at DPW. You may have been out, but they picked it up.
There's nothing we've done with those.
I just didn't want something, I didn't want it to walk.
Yeah, I think we need to get it back up, but waiting until the ground thaws or something like that makes sense.
Who's responsible for the maintenance of those? Is that the city or?
The Leadership Johnson County group 3 years ago redid them. They were put in originally by Paul Cotton and a group of people, so that predates all of us. So I don't think there is a maintenance or who owns them schedule to that effect.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the council?
Who put in the Stones Crossing sign?
That was the County Historical Society. These are not Johnson County Historical Society markers. We need to make sure we reflect that they are not maintained or owned by the Johnson County Historical Society.
Mr. President, I have some facts to share. This comes from Chris Jones with the Stormwater Utility. And during the month of January, the street sweeper picked up 42 plus tons. And that was from January 1st through the 31st. And the month of February, they've already picked up 48.3. Or they did pick up 48.3. And that was a shorter month.
Tons of debris.
That's a good question. I don't know if we want the answer.
You know, it wouldn't be sand, because, you know, we haven't had sand or, you know, the bad weather type of thing.
Just curious.
And I asked him what they did with that, and it's used for the alternative daily covering of things at the landfill. It's pretty much, you know, the type of dry things that you would see, sand and dirt that's on the street. But I just thought that those were much higher numbers than I would have ever imagined.
Okay. All right, anything else from the council? Anything else from the council? Seeing none, this is the second opportunity for audience members to address the council regarding things concerning the city. So if you'd like to, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Claude Tate, live at 126 Silver Court, Greenwood. I've been coming out of the city council meeting since April of 2015 about this ordinance about parking trailers and RVs on grass. And I've come to the conclusion that I was wrong. Since when I quoted Gideon Tucker, nobody's liberty or property is safe when the legislature is in session, I really thought this council would understand the impropriety of denying citizens our traditional exercise of property rights. Traditional use of property denied. When I quoted a famous Native American, to live with a white man, you have to live like the white man, I thought this council would understand that an intolerance for a citizen's lifestyle ultimately leads to discrimination and oppression. When I quoted Martin Luther King, an injustice to any man anywhere is a threat to all men everywhere, I thought this council would understand that little injustices not corrected will ultimately lead to more and greater injustices. It is unjust to presume that a citizen, for the sole reason he owns a trailer or an RV, will not maintain the grass around his said trailer or RV. I was wrong when I thought this council would respect thousands of years of traditional use of property, in that their intrusion would stop at the front line of the house, as is stated in 2 other sections of this same ordinance. I was wrong when I thought this council would have compassion for citizens forced to sell their boat and trailer because of Section C. I was wrong and am greatly saddened, but this council is determined to force all homeowners in Greenwood to live on a homeowner association without their permission. These types of restrictions are not wanted by a majority of the people of Greenwood. Intolerance. When homeowners choose to join the HOA, they voluntarily sacrifice choice in use of their property for the sake of property values. Those of us who choose not to live under HOAs do so because we value our rights of property. HOAs have their own methods in requiring compliance. This council is the body that is supposed to protect and preserve citizens' property rights. I appeal to those of you who wish to preserve property rights to carefully examine the ordinance and the intended use of it. When you pass ordinances to use the force of law to compel non-HOA residents to give up their property rights, you foment and create an atmosphere of contention and intolerance. You cause governments and those who administer it to be held in contempt. You impose your idea of how to live on all others. You are intolerant of others' lifestyles and hobbies, and use the force of law to compel the citizens of Greenwood to give up their rights. You have demonstrated that the citizens have no rights which you cannot take away. The Declaration of Independence states in part, there are certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Happiness is dependent on the property use rights. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Thank you. Anyone else from the audience wishing to address the council? See none. Other miscellaneous business, Corporation Council?
The letters through motion with respect to that ordinance, I have nothing.
Okay. Anything from the controller?
Nothing further.
All right. Anything from the mayor's office? Yes, he exited already. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There we go.
Chairman Laughlin, Deputy Mayor. A couple of things. Actually, I just wanted to let everybody know that if you weren't able to make it, the mayor had a presentation on kind of like Greenwood's vision for downtown, as well as another school site that kicked off today, and there will be a public open house Thursday night at 6 p.m. So we welcome everybody to come and take a look at that. Other business I had is Councilman Landon asked about what other communities were doing as far as trash removal, as far as containers and stuff. So contacted 9 different communities. Of the 9, 7 actually participated in trash services the same way that we do. There's 2 of them that kind of really didn't divulge how they did the trash.
Trade secrets of the trash.
I know these communities have trash, so it might be a different way. But of the 7, 3 of them virtually provide a 96-gallon tote free. That's the only one that they provide you. And if there is one that's showing that if you want something other than that, then you would have to pay a one-time fee for that. And then also 4 of the different entities, they provided smaller bins at no cost. So I just wanted to share that with you, Councilman Lehman, and the rest of the council.
All right,
Quick question. This Thursday's open house, is that about the ice rink or Old Town?
This is Old Town,
Thank you. And where is it, what time?
right here at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Middle school side.
All right, Terry, that's it from the mayor's office. Seeing nothing else, we are adjourned.
Sorry.
That's more important. Your vacation is much more important.
Did you say that? You want to take one with me? With everybody? Hey, council, the scouts would like to get a picture of with them up here and all of us up here.